lady, Monica, in Deacon's Monica. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see all of you here this morning. Let's take a quick poll. Just answer a question deep in your hearts and in your minds. Who is the owner of your life? Take a deep look into your life and answer the question, who owns your life? Who owns you, and who do you live your life for? I think it's one of the most difficult questions that we can ever answer as human beings, because we all want to say, I am the owner. I call all the shots. I've got all the wisdom. I've got everything that I need to know and do in order for my life to be the way I want it. But Psalm 89:11 tells us a different answer. It says, the heavens are yours. The earth also is yours. The world and all that is in it, you have founded them. So Psalm 89 declares that everything in this world, including you and me, belongs to God. There is no one here who owns life itself. You cannot say to yourself today, I am the owner of my life, because Psalm 89 says everything that God has created is created for His good purpose, for His glory, and for His sake. So all our lives, our gifts, our talents, our time, our money, our energy, our work, our relationships, everything that you have, you're merely managing. You're merely managing. And you're living life as a steward. Now, in order for you and I to live with the sole purpose of glorifying and pleasing God, we have to live as stewards. So we have to answer the question, what is a steward? What is a steward? In the most simplistic terms, a steward is a manager who administers that which belongs to someone else. So if you're a business owner, and you hire an administrator to handle all your finances, your work, and your deeds, that administrator is a manager. He handles all the money. He handles all the bookkeeping. He handles everything that there is to that business. And it goes without saying that if this manager or this steward were to take that money and use it for his own purpose and own good, that would be called embezzlement. Embezzlement. If you use something that is not rightfully used. Or if you ever rented a car, you go to Hertz or you go to Enterprise and you rent a car, you make sure that when you rent that car out and you drive it over the weekend, you want to make sure that it's managed properly, you drive it well, you don't drive it recklessly, you keep it clean, and when you return it, you want to make sure that the owner says, perfect, thank you, the gas is topped off, the car is clean. Why? Because we're managing what we do not own. And so if you are a follower of Christ, and if you deny yourself, you take up the cross, and you're truly following Christ, and you give your life to Him, like that manager, in your life itself, you don't own. You're merely managing it. Managing it. So God owns it all. Everything that we do, all disposal, everything that we do, it must be used for His glory, and if we don't, embezzlement. Embezzlement. We're taking life that God has given us, and we're doing it the way we want. God is not glorified by that. We do it the way He wants. Abraham Kuyper, a Reformed Dutch theologian, says that, quote, there is not a square inch in the whole domain of our human existence over which Christ, who is sovereign over all, does not cry, mine. Every single square inch of this earth, including your life, Christ says over it, it is all mine. It is all mine. How about a more famous person we all know, C.S. Lewis in Mere Christianity? Every faculty you have, your power of thinking or of moving your limbs from moment to moment, is given to you by God. If you devoted every moment of your whole life exclusively to His service, you cannot give Him anything that was not a sense His own already. Everything that you have is God's. Have I said this enough yet? Everything you have is God. So God owns your life. There's not a moment in your life which is not His. So that begs the question, then how do you live it? If Scriptures tell you and me that God owns everything, that every square inch is to God and to His glory, how do you live it? Really think about that. How do you live your life? And if you're going to grow in your spiritual life, you're going to be conformed to the image of Christ, this area of stewardship must be addressed. You must know how to walk with the Lord. You must know how to live for His Lord. You must know with everything that God has given you, how are you going to use it to the glory, praise, and honor of God. So I just listed a bunch of principles. There's one principle of stewardship. God owns everything. We all know this now. But now how? How can you and I be good stewards in just 3 areas of our life? Now I want to touch on these 3 areas. So we'll look at one, this being a steward of our spiritual gifts, being a steward of our time, and being a steward of our money. So number 1, the stewardship of spiritual gifts. 1 Peter 4:10, as each has received a gift, use it. Use it. He says use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's very grace. So as a result of Christ saving you and me, He died on the cross. He has redeemed you for a purpose, which is to glorify God. Now, as a redeemed brother and sister, son and daughter of God, He asks you and me, live for my glory, but on top and with alongside living for His glory, I have given you gifts. Gifts in the church so that you can use it to encourage your brothers and sisters, to encourage the body, to glorify God. And what he says the word use. Use. He doesn't say hide them. He doesn't say, oh, okay, since I have received this gift of hospitality, this gift of preaching, this gift of shepherding, this gift of faith or prayer, if God has given that to you, you are not supposed to hide it. In fact, you are supposed to use it for the glory of God and for the encouragement and blessing of the brother and sister sitting right next to you. Martin Luther, famous reformer, he writes a book called Luther on Vocation. And Luther, he spells out vocation in the Latin word as calling. As calling. Now stick with me here. He says this, behind the term calling is a notion that every legitimate kind of work or social function is a distinct calling from God, requiring unique God-given talents, God-given gifts, and God-given skills. Therefore, moreover, the Reformation doctrine of vocation teaches that God Himself is active in everyday human labor, family responsibilities, and social interactions. So again, these gifts are not used merely to glorify God, but for the blessing of your neighbors, your friends, and people around you. So it's in your homes. It's in your workplaces. How about even more practical here in the church? The gifts that God has given to you, it is so that you can lift up the neighbor. It is so that you can lift up the brother. As a doctor, student, teacher, lawyer, pastor, leader of the church, whatever it may be, you use the very gift and calling from God to glorify Him and to bless those around us. In other words, in this earthly kingdom, or His spiritual kingdom as well, God displays and disposes His gifts through means, the means of love. You know, when you act out and use your spiritual gifts, you use it with the means of love. You share the gospel if it's preaching, if that's your spiritual gift. You're preaching because you love the person next to you. If it's hospitality, you're bringing people along together. You are making an environment where people can really share and grow and love one another. You do that because it's love. It's love to do that. Maybe you're a person that's good at listening or talking to someone. You use your gifts and you display these talents to one another so that love can be shown and reached out. Is that not why God gave His Son, Jesus Christ? The greatest gift of all. He gave His Son to you and me to display the greatest act of love. God couldn't handle it. He loves you and me so much that He gave His only Son that He would die on the cross and give you and me eternal life. So use your gifts. Use your gifts. Do you know what your spiritual gifts are? Our church, we offer this inventory to you. We just offered it about 3 weeks ago, spiritual gift inventory. If you don't know what your spiritual gifts are, I encourage you to take this little short inventory, like a test or exam, just to see what the results may be. Because a lot of us, we don't know what our spiritual gifts are. Maybe people have told you, oh, you're hospitable, or you might be a good shepherd, you might be a good teacher, you might be a good prophet, but you yourself don't know that absolutely clearly. So, we offer this ministry class, and we also offer this time and time again. If you missed your Lucido, I'm sorry. Ask Pastor Dan. Ask myself. Email us so that you can get your hands on this inventory. You know what my spiritual gifts are? Faith, shepherding, and administration. My top three. Faith, shepherding, and administration. Faith because I really want to trust in God. I don't like to trust a lot in myself. I tried that a lot in my life and I failed. So I need to trust someone who is much more wise, stronger, better. Shepherding, He has called me to love on the people whom He has placed before me. Placed before me. You need to know what your spiritual gifts are in order for you to use them properly. So Apostle Peter writes out for us in 1 Peter 1 verse 10 that the gifts that God has given to us must be used to serve one another in faith and in love. In faith and in love. Now, being a good steward of God's gifts and having this gift that God has given to us, it should beg the question, well then, if I have these gifts, okay, how can I serve the body? How do I serve the body? You're asking me to use my gifts as a steward of God. You're asking me, but how do I serve the body? First and foremost, find out what the body needs. So practical. Find out what the body needs. What are the biblical needs of the body? In Ephesians chapter 4, it lists it out for us: preaching, teaching in the word ministries. There's also serving needs, serving the widows, the orphans, the elderly, parents, children, single mothers in 1 Peter chapter 4. There are countless amount of things that you and I can help to serve God's local church. Countless amount of things. So find out. Maybe you want to help clean the tables outside. Maybe you want to help in nursery. Find out what the body needs. And then you can use your gift. Second, ask yourself, what do you enjoy doing? Really, that's so important. Because when you act out your gifts, and you show your gifts, and you serve the people in the church, imagine if I had a gift of shepherding, and every time I went to a person, and oh my gosh, I have to meet this person again. What time is it? Okay, I'm going to clock you out at 1 o'clock. There's no more time for this. If I came into a meeting, just, oh my goodness, I can't. Is that really a gift? I don't think so. When you have a gift from God, and you know that gift, God is going to help you through the power of the Holy Spirit to lead you to enjoy that gift. What about backwards? Maybe you enjoy nursery. Maybe you enjoy preaching. Maybe you enjoy being a prophet. Maybe you enjoy praying. If that is it, maybe that's your gift. Ask yourself what you enjoy and utilize that gift for the benefit of the church and to the glory of God. And lastly, serve. Serve. Just do it. Don't just sit there and think, okay, this church is going to move along by itself. We need you. We as a pastoral staff cannot run this church just with us. We need your prayers, we need your support, we need your service, we need your gifts. We absolutely need it. So the vision of leadership right now, especially as we go into fall and we're pushing to next year, we're going to share our next year's plan very soon. It's going to hit like a brick, a ton of bricks upon all of you. But our vision is that our church, Living Grace Church, you would double down. You double down in service. You would double down in the people you meet. You'll double down in the acts of grace and mercy. Because when we share our vision for next year, when it comes very soon, we're going to need all of your help. We need it. We need every single one of you. Stewardship of gifts. Second, the stewardship of time. Time. Ephesians 5:15-16. Therefore, be careful how you walk, not as unwise men, but as wise, making the most of your time, or redeeming the time, because the days are evil. When Apostle Paul uses the word walk, he says, walk. Not as unwise, but as wise. This word walk can be better translated as live. Live. So it's this idea that how you use your time is dependent upon how you live your life. How do you live your life? Think about it. Or what do you live for? Better question yet. How do you live and what do you live for? So in chapter 4, he tells the Ephesians to walk or live in unity, and he gives instruction that they do both that they do it in their personal relationship and within the community of faith. And in chapter 5, he tells us that we must walk or live with one another in love, even as Christ gave himself up for us. And then he continues by saying we must walk or live as the children of light, as beacons of God's glorious light in a world of darkness, always mindful that our lives may be pleasing to God. And then he tells us that we are to walk or live wisely, redeeming or buying back the time because days are evil. Each of us are allotted only 24 hours a day. Only 24 hours, and for some of you that's not enough, and for some of you it just rolls way too slow. You want less time, but honestly, with only 24 hours a day, you can only do so much. If you're working 8-hour shift, you're done. You're pretty much done with your day. If you're studying from 8 to 6, pretty much your whole day's done. You only have a couple, 10, 12, 14 hours to live. You are only allotted 24 hours a day. How do you utilize that time? You know what I hear often too much from churchgoers? When we ask people to double down, or to serve extra, or to attend service and do this, you know what they say? I don't have enough time. I just don't have enough time. And to that, you always have to ask back, okay, but with the time that God has given you, how did you serve Him? How did you serve Him? Were you sitting at home watching Netflix all day? Were you sitting at home watching Brave Wilderness all day? It's like an animal movie I love to watch. Were you at home playing games all day? Were you just wandering around with your friends all day? What were you doing? God has given you 24 hours, and how much of it have you used to the glory of God? Think about it. Really think about it. And so the direct admonition here from Apostle Paul is that we are to be intentional on how we spend our time. Be intentional about it. That's the part of what it means to walk wisely or to walk in wisdom. It means that we are to run the decision about how we are to use our time through the filter of Scripture and prayer. Be prayerful how you use your time. Lord God, I'm going to school right now. I pray that if it is your will, send people before me that I may share your will. May I be able to share love better. May I be merciful, benevolent, compassionate. If you're going to work, Lord, give me faith. Give me your understanding better. May I work to your glory. If you're going to meet others in relationships, God, I really pray and ask that as I use and spend this time, it will be honoring to you and the person that I'm ministering to and loving on. It would really, really, truly feel your mercy, your love, and compassion. Intentional. Intentionality means everything. It means so much. Walk in wisdom. Live in wisdom. So we're not to waste away our days doing things that have no eternal value. Don't waste away your life. We just sang. Don't waste away your life by amassing material things. Amassing wealth, status, glory. These have no eternal value. You know what does have eternal value? Your soul, your spirituality, the love that you are sharing to one another as you are admonishing and lifting up one another. That has such eternal value. The way you live here will depend where you go there. And that's what Jesus was teaching on the Sermon on the Mount. It's interesting, in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus follows up his teaching by saying, where your heart is, that's where your treasure will be also. So where's your heart? Really, where is your heart? Is it in money? Is it in the love or attraction to another person? Is it in your social your skill? What is it? Where Where is your heart? Now, I'm not saying that we have to be legalistic about our time. Oh my goodness, I can't watch any more TV. Oh my goodness, I cannot go to a sports venue. I can't do this, I can't do that. That is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to spend every single moment of your life cooped up in your room, opening up your Bible, and pray for 24 hours a day. That's not what I'm saying. But with the time that God has given you, how much of it will you say, God, this is for you? Is there any moment in your day where you say, God, this is for you? This is for you. You know, when I first became a pastor here at Living Grace, grew up at this church, as I became like we call it a director, like an overseer of the ministry. Pastor Steve he's obviously my mentor, and he told me, Daniel, I want to make sure that you honor the Sabbath day. You keep it absolutely reverent. I said, deal. Not just because you say it, because God says it. Easy, clear as day. There were a couple Sundays where I came to church like this. I was really tired, absolutely tired. And then over maybe a month or two, he goes, Daniel, I want you in my office. What does he want me? He's probably going to say, good job. He's probably going to say, so I'm walking in like, okay, he wants to talk to me. Why was I so tired? In the beginning of ministry here at Living Grace, I had a Disney annual pass. I still have one, so I have it now. But during that time, I wanted to make most of that pass. So I went Saturdays, and I stayed there until close, which is like 12 or 1 o'clock on a Saturday, and I would come to church 7 a.m. in the morning for our pastoral meeting. And so tired, he'd tell me, don't go to Disney on Saturdays. Don't do it. Why? Because when you come on Sundays, this is your work. God has called you to pastor and minister. You can't be tired. You got to be alert and ready. When you're tired like that, Satan, he's going to come in and throw at you. He's going to just get into your life. And then he said, you got to use your time wisely. Saturday, let that time be a time where you prepare for Lord's Day. You look forward to Lord's Day and worship Day. So if it means if you go home early and you rest, so be it. And to this day, I still go to this man on Saturday. But I stay a little earlier. Yesterday I could have gone to Disneyland. People were begging me. But I said, no, I'm not going to go. I went home early. How do you use your time? Spend it wisely. It's kind of like meal planning. Meal planning. You know, when you're working out and you're making sure that your body is getting into tip-top shape, you make sure you eat certain things at certain times of the day. Have you done that with the Word of God? Have you done that with your prayer life? Maybe you need a Bible plan. Maybe you need a prayer plan. A spiritual plan so that you can get in focus, in discipline with the Word of God. Focus and be a good steward of your time. Let me just quote Charles Spurgeon. He says, do not believe that you are standing still. You are not. Your pulses each moment beat. The funeral marches to the tomb. You are chained to the chariot of rolling time. There is no bridling the steeds or leaping from the chariot. You cannot run away from the fact that time is constantly moving. That's right. You can't. So use it to the glory of God and for the benefit and blessing of others. Amen. And lastly, we get to the stewardship of money. Stewardship of money. We read in Luke chapter 16, 10 to 13. You just set the stage for you. Jesus, immediately after telling the parable of the unjust servant and the unjust steward, in this parable, this unjust steward is caught by squandering his master's money. Squandering his master's money, and is called to give an account of how he used it. Master goes to him, you wasted my money, how did you use it? And as he realizes that he's been caught, he begins to use the master's money to make friends for himself. When he's no longer had a job, he'll at least have some friends. It's unjust in the way that he's used it, because he misused the master's money. And he points at him by saying, For the sons of this age are more shrewd in relation to their own kind than to the sons of light. So Jesus does not condone the steward's dishonesty, but points to how clever the shrewd can be. You know, we're absolutely sinful. The fact is that when you have been given something like money, you can use it deceivingly. You can manipulate others. He's not telling you, okay, yeah, you're being dishonest with me, but I really want to find out why you were able to use this money in this way. How are you able to misuse it so well? You misuse it so well. And he says that this shrewd was so wicked because he valued the things which were temporal, earthly, the things that were eternal. Eternal. So Jesus says in verses 10 through 13, if we cannot be trusted with something as temporary and fleeting as money, he's not going to trust us with the valuable things of the Spirit. He's not going to entrust you with the valuable things that he can give to you. It has so much worth and value to it, but if you aren't able to be a good steward of what God has given you, I really believe that he will not continue to give you more. How do you use your money? How do you use your finances? Jesus says you cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve both God and money. So you got to beg the question, God, why did you give us money then? Why do we have money? Why do you, congregation of Living Grace Church, why do you have money that God has given to you? I think first of all is trust. God trusts you. It's something God has entrusted to our care, something which belongs to Him, which He has given to us in order that He would invest on our behalf. The idea is that He will get a good return on His investment. If He trusts us with a little, and we use it wisely, He will trust us with more and more and more and more. He who is faithful in very little thing is faithful also in much. Money is something that God has entrusted to you. How do you use it? Secondly, money is a means or a tool. Means or a tool. Money is just paper. It is just paper. Burn it, do whatever you want, whatever denomination it is. But it's a tool. A tool to do what? To gain things, to amass material wealth, or to go and purchase something, or to pay someone back. This money holds value when it's used properly as that tool. Kind of like a boogie board out in the ocean. That boogie board has no value to it when it's on land. But when you take it out to the ocean, it helps you to ride the wave smoothly and better, and you're able to ride it safely. Money in the same way is used as a tool. A tool for what? How do you use your money? Is it a tool for the benefit of the gospel? For the expansion of His kingdom? Is it to share that love through the means of money so that people would feel, oh my goodness, this person is so benevolent, loving, and compassionate to me? Are you using that money for God's glory and for His kingdom? It's a tool or a means. I also think it's a test. It's a test from God. God often gives us something lesser of value to see if He can trust us with something with greater value. If He cannot trust us with something fleeting as money, why would He entrust us with spiritual things or eternal things? How are you going to use that? If you cannot make good decisions with the small amount of money you have, it stands to reason that we cannot be trusted with the large amount of money. Very important, it's a test. Lastly, I think it's a thermometer. A thermometer is, it kind of gauges the heat and temperature of certain things. How you spend your money reveals your spiritual life. Really, it does. If you're using money to go out to bars, to get drunk, if you're going out to the casino and you're gambling so hard, your heart is so that you can have some sort of exhilaration when you go out to the bar. When you go to the casino, you're having some sort of exhilaration by getting more money And you form this kind of addiction. And what you see here is that when you use money in that way, it shows where your heart is. So look at everything you have around you. Look at your clothes. If you have rich clothes on your back, you have wealthy clothes and nice clothes on your back, it shows that in your heart, I want to be seen as a wealthy person. If you have a whole bunch of things, you have to hoard things in your heart, you just can't let go of control. How you spend your money shows how your heart is. I shared this story before. I have a friend in seminary, my mentor, and we're going to the Angels game, and we're looking on StubHub and finding the best seats, best prices. And as we were looking around, I found the best seats for $10, right in the front of the outfield. And I said, you know what? Let's purchase these tickets. So I said to my friend, can you purchase the tickets? He said, no, I can't. I'll purchase it. So I purchased it. And you know what Venmo is? It's like this electronic transaction that you do to bank account to bank account. He didn't have Venmo at that time, but he had a lot of cash in his wallet. And I said, just give me the $10 now. And he goes, oh no, I cannot touch, because that is actually going to the Lord on Sunday. His offering, he didn't want to touch. He separated that because in his heart, he wanted to give it to God. He didn't want to taint it. In his mind, taking some money out was tainting it to him. I had some arguments against it, but I told him, okay, I respect that. I absolutely respect it. It's a thermometer. How do you use your money? And because we're talking about this, we as Living Grace Church, we're so grateful and thankful to all of you who generously give. Who generously give to this local church. You know, without your giving, we would not have what we have today. The staff that we have. The means, the place we can worship. What we can do on a weekly basis. Next week we have a Thanksgiving banquet. And this is all done because of your giving and your generosity. But you know what, most importantly? We as a staff, we don't want to host parties and have all of these things to make church fun. What we focus on is the last L of Living Grace Church, which is leading others to Christ. The evangelistic, gospel-centered focus of our church. And you cannot do that well. You could do it well, but it helps so much with the giving and your generosity. And so you look at our months like February push and August push, where we're inviting friends and family to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. Do you know we spend most of our energy, our resources, and even our money into those months to say, God, we're placing our faith and trust in you, that God, you will send people here and that they would in turn receive the gospel message and be linked to you and have a relationship with you. That's our focus. And it's because of your generosity. Thank you so much. But if you want to do it better, and you want to be more evangelistic in this church, and we want to grow as a church bigger and better, I charge you that we did more. I charge you that we are more generous. Why? Because what we have is not ours anyways. You're not losing anything. You and I are not losing anything. So how can God be Lord over your life if you're not willing to have Him be Lord over your bank account? How can you allow God to be the Lord over your entire life, but say, my wallet, that's mine, you can't touch it, God? We use our time, our gifts, and our money, our finances, so that God will get the glory. And what stewardship is for the benefit and blessing of others here in the church. So let me give you some applications. Number one, assess your gift, time, and money expenditure. Assess it. Look at it. Look deep into your heart. Where am I using my time? Where am I using my energy? Where am I using my money? And take time to pray over that. Secondly, maybe for you, you can set some goals. Goals. You know what? By next week, I want to start serving on the plate. Or at least by next week, I want to share my gift and talents to the worship team, because I just can't stand here just in the congregation. I want to use my gifts. Maybe for you, it's nursery. You want to go back there and love on the children of Living Grace? Maybe it's for the education department. You want to love on the students, the youth of Living Grace Church? Whatever it is, set some goals. By next month, I want to start serving. By next month, I want to give more. By next year, I want to give more. Whatever it is, set those goals and allow that to shape and move you as it is a proper application for you to give and be a good steward of what God has asked you to do. And lastly, exercise some faith. Maybe you've done all that. Maybe you've already assessed. Maybe you've already set some goals. But now, exercise some faith. In other words, do it. What's keeping you? What's keeping you from serving this church? What's keeping you from blessing one another here in our local church? Let nothing hold you back. If you already assessed, you already set your goal, let's do it. And give it all to God's control. At the end of the day, you might seem or look foolish in your giving. You might seem or look foolish in your time and the way you spend it, or the way you use your gifts. But you know, at the end of the day, you know who gets the glory and who's pleased with that? It is God. So enough of this lip service. No more lip service. You got to start acting and doing. And you know who didn't give lip service? Jesus. He said, but he actually also did. When he said, I love the world, and I'm going to come into this world to die for sinners like you and me, he actually went on Calvary's cross. And he said, Lord, to your will, Father in heaven, may you be glorified with what I do. And Lord, as I sacrifice my own body, Lord, as you have called me, may the whole world see your love. And may those whom you have called to salvation act out now in faith, to now not only give you lip service, but now to give you glory. What does your stewardship say about your authenticity of your faith? What does it say about where your trust really is? You want to be a good steward? Act out in faith. Trust Him and obey Him. Amen? Let's pray together.